Welcome to the third day of this 3-day challenge, which I have variously named Raise Your Emotional Intelligence or Ignite Your Superpowers. And I'm especially excited because the material here to me is so rich and it's a culmination of what we've been doing the last 2 days. Those who are here, I am very grateful for your presence and your participation because I intend that this is connecting with others, sharing your experiences, especially as I present the self-reflective exercises that those who watch and listen to this later will have they'll be by themselves watching, but if we have a small group participating, we'll get a sense more of being connected, and that's the point of this. So let's start with my slides so I can get a sense of orientation here. There. Are we good? Can we all see that?
Yeah.
So, ignite your superpowers. And as I said at other times here, there are so many abilities and skills and gifts we have. But because we get caught up in the world, and because we've learned to turn away from ourselves, we don't know the power that there are in things you already do and gifts that you've put aside because you don't have time for. When you come back to yourself and see who you truly are, this is where you engage your power. Because, and now as I'm saying this, I'm affected by what happens to me when I speak the truth. Because we came into this world so full of life, so full of love, but humankind, the human condition, caught us immediately. And what humans are mostly about is fear. So we learn fear, forgot who we are, and we dwell in this world of fear with so much distance from who we are essentially, spirit, and we've lost touch with the gifts which are our powers, the purpose that we came in this lifetime to do, because we were blindsided by fear. And when we're caught there, we can't participate in the abundance that we were intended to have, and that is always here if we could only clear our way to see and ask for it. Okay, welcome. You had an introduction to who I am. The short story is I have a lot of credentials. And the important story is I was lost for so long. I didn't even know I was lost. And that is kind of the point of my presentation. I don't want other people to be wandering in not being conscious of their state, how they feel, and their lostness. Because if you don't know that, how can you ever make anything different for yourself? So that's the short story, personal story. And with me is Anna Wilson, who has been my faithful wing woman. And you can say, if you haven't already, hello, I am so-and-so in the chat. I believe that so far, everyone is familiar to me. Leo has returned, thank you. And we're going to use the chat to share, connect. So think now to yourself, as we did before, what is most sacred to you in this moment? We don't have to put it in the chat. And I will remind people that I put gratitude here, thankfulness, because as I read Rumi's quotes yesterday, Rumi says we can clothe ourselves in gratitude and feed every corner of our soul. Because gratitude puts you into a space where that is possible, so your soul and heart are fed. And the other Rumi quote is, with thankfulness, we are with the beloved, the divine. So I present gratitude there. And I put connection, because this is what we're doing today. We're connecting. We're connecting to our past, to the darkness which we can dimly see, and we're connecting to each other to support each other in our discoveries. So say yes in the chat. I was going to say, if this is your first time here, but this is irrelevant because I know it isn't your first time. Say yes in the chat if you can feel your heart, that you can move away from your thinking mind and be here with your heart, your curiosity, your intuition, any of those three. Please say yes in the chat.
I see yeses.
Good. Thank you. All right. I usually quote Carl Jung at this point, but Plutarch showed up to provide the same idea. What we achieve internally, inwardly, will change outer reality. And that's the whole point of today. What we have inside, in our subconscious, creates the reality we experience every day. And left untouched, it will create the same beliefs, the same patterns, and the same glasses through which we perceive the world. So if you see a world with incredible turmoil, chaos, fear, conflicts, if not in your inner world, personal world, you can certainly see it out there. That reflects what in you have the possibility of changing, so that outward reality is different. And that's the spirit that we want to hold through these, through today. All right, review of day one. Day one, I emphasize awareness, acceptance, and alignment. As I said, awareness is a muscle that we need to keep building. Without that light, we will stumble because we can't see the limitations, the blocks in our way. When we turn the light on, which is what my intention is in the 3 days, is to shine the light. Can you see this? Can you see this? And then once you see, to accept what is there rather than deny it, keep struggling with it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. And then finally, to accept, especially the feelings of anger, fear, and sadness that are there, so you can begin to align with your heart and create a balance where your intellect, your thinking mind, isn't directing your show. Because the intellect has great capacities, but it doesn't have a sense of the whole picture. And your heart does in its inner wisdom. That was a review of day 1. Day 2, yesterday I went through the triggers, the beliefs, and the strategies of the inner child. And as I recall, people owned up to many of the beliefs and many of the strategies that were presented. Today, we're going to look at, you have all of this in your subconscious, and they're going to remain there unless you engage and collaborate with the subconscious so that they don't write the scripts that you follow every day. Okay, so this is what it is. We are going to talk about the power and superpower of the subconscious. First, self-reflection exercise. Look at the day that has gone by already. Review what you have done and see whether it's emotional, mental, or behavioral. Look at it and ask yourself, is this a conscious choice I made? Or is it a pattern running in me that I don't realize that I'm doing? It can be anything. So I'll give you a minute and a half to look at your day so far and see any automatic pattern or reaction that came up for you. I'll start the timer right now. All right.
I don't see anything in the chat yet.
So you're invited to write in the chat or speak up by unmuting yourself and let us know what you discovered in looking at your day. What was automatic in terms of how you responded or some pattern that you followed. So Doug looks like he's working hard on something. So You can unmute yourself and you can share. No? Unmute yourself?
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
Um, I am definitely a creature of habits. Um, Last night I didn't get enough sleep. I postponed going to sleep often and deprived myself of getting enough. I knew I had to get up early this morning because we have a house guest. Automatically got to get my coffee, got to get to the tablet to do these word games that I habitually do in the morning, habitually read the news, even though there's more profitable ways to spend my morning, like exercise or getting outside, garden, or, I just find that I have a lot of trouble with habits. And the funny thing is, if I don't do the habits, I do start to feel a little distressed. So I know it's not just there's stuff behind the habit, even though they seem like they're really innocent.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Thank you. That is so rich because our habits keep us moving and doing, and we think we're okay because everything is familiar. But if you stop and think, what do I want to do? What does my heart call me to do? Rather than all the shoulds that direct us. Habits are expressions of shoulds, right? You should do this. You should do that. And how about instead of doing anything, you open the door, you walk outside, and you see the sky, the flowers, the trees, hear the birds, whatever, a different experience because you stopped, paused, and refused to give into habits. And habits are like addiction. They're comfortable. And that's another way in which we remain unconscious. We like being comfortable. And whether it's games, video games, looking at the news, whatever habits you have, they can be way you turn to not face what is happening for you inside. Like what you said, Doug, if I stop doing that, I can experience a little bit of distress. And in the first module, I attempted to articulate the teaching that all of our feelings are there to inform us of what our heart needs. But since we're not used to turning to our hearts, we run away from ourselves. So habits like this tend to do that. And so in some ways, when you meditate first thing, you have the opportunity to not run into habits and move to the kind of still space where something else can happen. Anyway, thank you for that. Anyone else care to share what automatic reactions or patterns that you saw yourself do? No?
I have a couple of in the comments to read.
Yes.
Yeah, Christy said, I found myself responding in a less than pleasant way to some unwelcome requests of my time today. It wasn't the load of the ask, but my reaction to being asked. It seemed that I intended to carry the being annoyed longer than felt good. And Leo said, currently I am in a good place, yet I occasionally struggle with feelings of fear stemming from past experiences and anxiety regarding what lies ahead.
Good, thank you. Yeah. Christy and her tug and pulls about the demands. And many times when you're in a relationship with people who need to be fixed, need to be supported, need help. And if you are a habitual provider, like it's so easy to be like being a parent or a grandparent, you may want to do something, but a child is demanding your attention. It's easy to disregard your reluctance and just move. But even a second to say, oh, I kind of resent this, is a way of returning to yourself, say, okay, I heard you, I heard my heart, and then you can move. But if you override it, you build the resentment and anger. You're walking away from yourself. Self-sabotaging is one way of naming it. So thank you for your shares on this particular self-reflection. All right, now we move into the heart of our topic today. What is conscious? Just the tip of the iceberg. And what is subconscious? All the rest. What is in your subconscious? It's a hidden driver of 95% of our thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and perceptions. And more unresolved traumas, fears, limiting beliefs, and more emotional distress, anger, fear, sadness, anxiety, habits of thought, patterns of choice. All of this lies in the subconscious. So at any given time, even as you're listening to me right now, only 5% of what is influencing you is conscious. You hear the words, you understand. That's 5% conscious. 95% of what's in the subconscious can interfere with how you listen, what you hear. And to me, this basic fact is startling, because if our unresolved trauma, fears, limiting release, emotion, all of the stuff is the 95% in the subconscious, what do you do? As you look at this list, say yes in the chat if you can see there's too much of this that you don't know. Kind of like, is this a surprise to you that this much is in your subconscious? And are we getting any yeses?
No.
Nope. Okay. You all knew this. Awesome.
Oh, I see. Doug says it is a surprise to me. Christy said the list only had 2 things. I'm not
The
sure.
surprises. Uh-huh. Okay. This is a quotation that kind of indicates what our possibilities are. Your subconscious mind is like a garden. If you do not deliberately plant flowers, weeds will grow automatically. Well, let's say the weeds are already there, taking a lot of space, and we need to weed the garden. and begin to plant flowers. And this will lead you through to the process of doing that. And the process is the doors to the subconscious open when the conscious mind relaxes. So how does the conscious mind relax? When you use imagination and visualization, you move into a realm where you're conscious of what you're doing, but it's a realm that participates with your subconscious field. Hypnosis and trance states are about working with the subconscious. When I think about that as a way to start reprogramming the subconscious mind, I would say that the person who does the hypnosis, whether it's you or someone else, their understanding, their comprehension of the possibilities for human beings and for you yourself will affect the effectiveness of hypnosis. So if you're doing some hypnosis and you've launched on a thing that you want to reprogram, you can do that. But imagine all that you cannot see that needs to be reprogrammed. So you know you can do it once a day and keep going, but there can be endless amount of things in the subconscious that you don't know. Think of all the traumas, all the beliefs. Do you know them all? Etc. So it's limited by who is engaging you in this hypnosis. The same with trance state. You can listen to tapes that put you in a trance state, the state between wakefulness and being asleep. And in that alpha state, is it? What happens to inform what occurs in that trance state? You don't have a guide bringing you what you want to move closer to. Your trance state can bring in a mixture of things. So again, it's limited from my point of view. Third is MAP, Make Anything Possible, which is what I'm going to talk about because this is what I practice. It is a way of collaborating with your subconscious to make anything possible. And I'll explain more. Meditation, breath work can also bring you to a place of stillness where you are out of your conscious mind. And it's possible there that you can engage in something new. But again, I think that guidance is needed with meditation and breath work. Hopefully a guidance that comes from a a complete whole heart and guide. Anyway, those are my biases. Okay, I want to take you into an experience of inner child healing. And it is going to engage the imagination, and I'll cue you in on all of this. So first, say yes in the chat if you're willing to join me in this inner journey. I need your consent. Yes? And if any of you are listening to this while driving, please stop for 2 or 3 minutes to do this. or mark the place in the recording to return to it. Do we have consent in the chat from everyone here?
I
Yes?
see from Doug and Christy.
Uh-huh.
Um, I know Leo's listening at work, so, but I don't.
Ah. So he might not be able to do that because of that. Well, you can be a witness to the process, and when you can, to do the process. We are about 32 minutes into the recording, which I will send you in a couple of hours after we end. Okay, for the rest of us, and I will join you in the process, please close your eyes and begin to pay attention to your breathing. Because when you focus on your breath, the next breath becomes deeper. Your attention and focus enlarges what you're focusing on. So the breath that brings in oxygen needed by every cell of your body, you're aligned with. That can bring relaxation into the body. So as you continue to watch your breath, you will notice places of tension, and your noticing of tension, those places, will be an invitation to let go. This process of continuing to watch your breath may lead you to yawn. It will relax your thinking mind because your focus is on your breath. And this relaxation of your thinking mind will allow us to move into the space of imagination. So see yourself in this dark space of imagination, endless darkness that is ripe with possibilities. This is the place of creativity. This is where musicians, artists, other creatives move into when they connect with their muse, their sources of inspiration. So we're in the space to connect with an inner child. And I'm going to ask you a question. Well, the first number below 5 that comes to mind will be the age of the inner child that you will meet. So whatever it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, imagine that you see this inner child. I'll say, I see my 3-year-old. I see her haircut, the clothes that she's wearing, the flip-flops she has on her feet. I see her face. And as I move closer to her, as you move closer to him, you will approach with wanting to see her, wanting to care for him or her, wanting to connect with the heart, heart to heart. So non-verbally or verbally, communicate that you are the adult from her future or his future, and you've come to be with this child. The child's reaction may be tentative, and might be curious. It's a new experience for the child too. So you introduce yourself in the way it feels right. That you've come here as the adult from her future because the child has always felt alone. And you want to bring your presence to change that. And because actually time happens all at once, and we humans need to pull it out to be able to live in it. This time has immense possibilities to create an experience that be real for the child and the adult. So begin to communicate with this child. Some of this, I see what you feel. I'm sorry if it is sadness, fear, being alone, being sad, whatever it is. I'm sorry that you're here with these feelings by yourself. I want you to know that whatever created this, you are not to blame. People were acting out of their own dream, out of their own struggles, out of their own pain. Unfortunately, you were there and you were affected. And it was very, very painful. Because in those moments, it was as if you didn't matter. You weren't important. And some part of you decided, I'm not good enough. This is what I deserve. I don't deserve what I truly need. I have to put up with what I have in this moments and other moments like this. It's painful. And you can continue the conversation in your own way to bring your compassion to your child. So I will be silent for about a minute so you can continue and connect, communicate, and be present with. Oh. Do we have any experiences for people to share? For one, were you able to get into the experiences? Just say yes in the chat if you did.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Couple yeses.
Yeah. Anyone care to share their experience in a general sort of way? Oh, wonderful. That's beautiful, Christy. Thank you. In a word, or two, what were the results for you? Doug? Anna? Has Doug disappeared? No? No, he's here. He just turned off his video. Okie dokie. So Doug, if you're not going to share, we will move on.
He has shared now.
Okay.
He said a certain amount of soothing.
Oh, okay.
And Christy says still very spaced and it's nice. Kept seeing a puppy.
That's lovely. All right, we need to bring you back. Oh, I forgot to say something how I end this exercise. And that is, for those of you who listen to it later, to say to the child, I can be back with you anytime you need me. So signal me, let me know in a way that I can do this again. And you can have that. And if you want to contact me directly, and my email is part of the messages that come from Eventbrite, I will send you a recording that I can create as I have. I'll find one so you can do this for yourself. All right, so let's move on. Now I want to talk about Make Anything Possible. Make Anything Possible was created by Gary A. Flint, a clinical psychologist, to tackle the most difficult population he could find. And that was dissociative disorders, people who are victims of cults and torture. And the novel thing about what Dr. Flint did was he interviewed the subconscious of his patients and was taught about how memory works and all of this. So he devised a way, wrote a book on how to work with the subconscious for healing. I forget the name of the book. But anyway, Dr. Gary A. Flint, he's written 2 books. So he was mentoring Colette Stryker, who created MAP. And this is where I trained 5 years ago. Now, MAP has the capacity of training your subconscious to heal trauma parts. So that in a session using MAP, when we identify the trauma parts that showed up at work, when this person felt so out of sorts that whereas she could respond intelligently and positively to the discussion, she was tongue-tied and lost. And the reason is because that situation brought her back to a place where she experienced the trauma of being silenced, being told they don't want to hear from her, they don't want to have her there. It was in her family. And this situation hit that spot. And we worked to treat the trauma parts that showed up in the current situation. And we also can treat any beliefs or strategies that you can detect as you go through the day. When, for example, if someone forgot you or rejected you in some slight way, and it touches upon a bit of anger and resentment that you feel. Because it's so small, you can turn away. But when you do this work, these are special jewels that you can grasp and say, okay, what happened here? I was resentful, I was angry. What was going on? And following what I suggested in earlier days, you say, what is the message that you have? What is the heart's message? What is the no in the anger? And the no is, I needed respect and you didn't show me. I needed connection and you were so disconnected. It's that sort of thing. And then because the subconscious holds so much, it can also deal with fears, pain, and anger that you absorb from your parents, your grandparents, your peers. For example, if you were ever bullied, you don't realize that what caused the bullying and your bullies, the pain, the anger that came at you was also in there for you to absorb. So if you're sensitive or empathic or just plain human, you took in that energy and you didn't know it. So not only do you have your own stuff, you have the stuff of your parents, your grandparents, and in fact, your whole lineage. And this is how generation after generation, we recycle pain and fears and all that distress. And it's there in your subconscious. So if it's undetected and untreated, it runs your life. Thich Nhat Hanh wrote the book Reconciliation. As I indicated, it's the only wisdom teacher, spiritual teacher, that has directly addressed the inner child. And in one part, he says, every cell in our body carries our ancestors. And if you know your ancestors, as I am somewhat acquainted with mine, especially on the women's side, we carry too much pain. I had an experience in healing school where I always held back. But since it was the last opportunity, we were in a group healing, I stepped forward and I almost didn't make it because everybody went before me and I was said, oh, I'm off the hook. But one of my teachers said, Anne hasn't had her chance. So I still stepped forward into the group. And before I knew it, the therapeutic energy of the circle touched upon the, the grief, the wailing of the women in my ancestry. So there I was in the middle of the group, wailing, not realizing that I had touched upon all of that. And this is something that came from my subconscious, and the context was safe enough, sacred enough that it allowed this to come out. So I had an opportunity to touch upon what was in my DNA, my ancestors, and everything about them. And this is all in the subconscious that most of us are unaware of, and they are part of what write the scripts that create what we see and how we live every day. So you can see that collaborating with the subconscious can make you have a resource of healing and becoming whole that is not there for you otherwise. And that is why I think that when intuition touched me to give me the phrase, listen to the cries of your heart, it was where I was led to begin the work. And then 4 years later, to go and do MAP training, I was led to show up today with all the healing and experience that I've had to point out to you, this is a resource that I hope I communicating what a treasure it is, and that you consider seriously that is a gift you cannot turn away from. In the course of working with people, I have also found what in some circles is called attached spirit. My first healing method was Mahikari. And in the experience with teachers in the training, we learned that spirits who didn't make the transition to return to the greater being, who were so stuck in their pains and patterns, they didn't see the guides to take them home. So they wandered the earth looking for a way home. So they attached to human beings who are so wounded and in despair because they are vulnerable, and they attach and they share their misery with them. In Mahikari, we were told that this particular experience was someone who was experiencing psychotic episodes. And the attached spirit said, your family did something to my family, and I'm here to punish you for what was done. So in this realm of attached spirits, you don't even know sometimes that you're carrying it. And that is part of the burden you carry. And with MAP, it is possible to communicate with such spirits and help them move home. So this is just a taste of what MAP can do.
And Leo was asking me, you mentioned Gary A. Flint, and there was another person, author,
Oh,
was it?
it's Colette Streicher, Streicher, is the founder of the MAP Coaching Institute.
Okay. And
Yeah,
also where did you, what was that institute called?
MAP Coaching Institute.
Okay.
Now, I try to get what used to be on the MAP website, where they showed what happens before a MAP session and what happens afterwards. So ordinarily on the left-hand side, your brain is not all active and communicated. we had a picture of someone who had fear of heights. Her brain wave was taken. She got a map session, and her brain activity was very full and complete. And she was able to go up the stairs to the roof without fear of heights. All right, now we begin the segment on the whole point of all of what I presented is for you to move to wholeness and well-being by beginning at the root level. So I promised in the title of this challenge for you to gain clarity, true purpose, and abundance. And you can't do it through conscious effort. All the affirmation, positive thinking, willpower alone doesn't create the deep change because it's engaging the conscious mind. And that's why you need the subconscious connections that can dissolve the pain at its source instead of managing symptoms. So then you can get to true transformation, which requires a shift in the subconscious identity from being wounded to whole, from being victim to being empowered, from moving fear and being able to choose and live in love. So to review, day one, it was about awareness, acceptance. The second step, aligning with your heart, embracing your feelings. Step 3 was connecting with the inner child through triggers, beliefs, and strategies. And today it was to empower yourself through the subconscious to heal your inner child and more. I don't have time, and if I do, we can return to this. I wanted to provide this testimonial of someone who went through the course that I'm going to talk about shortly. With Anne's guidance, I coaxed my inner child out of hiding, helped her feel safe, and released fears and defense. Now I know I deserve to take up space and hold space, which has helped me better understand boundaries. Today, I feel more like the tall redwood tree I sit under, with a stronger connection to the God of my heart, grounding me and letting my soul speak. I feel that JLH has really moved through the process and course that I created for people like her and you. So it's a repetition here. The emotional intelligence that I foster brings clarity. The inner child work helps you move to an undefended heart so you can know your purpose. And your abundance comes from a connection with Spirit, who is always there with all the abundance and all the love that we would ever need. But we don't know how to get there. So, are there any questions? And this is a time to articulate takeaway from the 3 days or today. What are you going to take away from this time together? In the chat?
Leo says he has 3 questions.
Yes.
Do you mentor individuals looking to enter mental health and self-help fields?
Yes, I do. I mostly work with individuals. but those individuals also are coaches and I want to gather people who know this in the ways that they know, is to deepen their own personal experience of healing, because that personal journey is so valuable for you individually, because you can feel your well-being, you can feel your peace, you can feel yourself like a channel of love. And I love for people to work with people like GH, who return to the source of their power, which, if you are able to and have some connection, repair your quarrel, separation, struggles with your God of your heart. And that is the most powerful connection you could possibly have, but a wounded heart stands in the way. Your inability to deal with negative feelings stands in the way. So yes, I love what we can do. And I will explain shortly. And Anna, you can tell me what else shows up in the chat as I move through.
Yeah, and I think you may be answering this, but he's asking the best way to contact you if it's
Yeah,
Calendly.
yes, and we can tell them that. Okay, I have time to tell Sally's story. Sally was a very successful professional. She worked for an international education company, and she was a social media expert. She also had 2 side gigs. One was making documentaries, and the other was learning a particular kind of coaching. She also was mother of 3 teenagers, all energetic and taking on life really well. She was married to a person who was unemployed for 3 years and depressed. So she had to be the breadwinner. And with all of this, in the middle of treatment, she fell into bed with pneumonia that took her 4 weeks to recover from. And why did it take her 4 weeks? After 2 weeks, she got out of bed, showed up for her executive producer role, was there every day of the shoot before she returned back to her bed. This is how much she was driven with her sense of responsibility and so distant from her self-care. And in the middle of this, she said to me, I got it. Self-compassion. This is what I need. And once she got there, when she returned to her heart, things turned around for her. And today, she's not doing her job, but rather she is in the coaching. And she says, I do the work here that makes my heart sing. I see her on Instagram talking about this method. And she's a success story that has been through everything that I have described. My story. If you remember from the first day, I talked about being booted off center stage by the birth of my twin sisters. I was lost and confused. I didn't know it, and I was unconscious of that through most of my life. And being lost and confused, the direction I took was, I've got to learn how to be good. And being good meant for me being successful. So I took traditional paths of success, and I became a psychologist and worked as a psychologist took on more training, not realizing that I had a broken heart. I didn't know how to heal it, and I didn't know I had it until 8 or 9 years ago. Intuition broke through my intellect, which I had honed, to give me the phrase, listen to the cries of your heart, and you know the rest. I wrote a book, got into inner child healing. 3 years later, got into MAP training. And this is how I moved from being lost and confused, took the steps layer by layer to heal my heart, to find the powerful means to help heal my heart further and help others heal their heart through collaborating with the superconscious. And with this connection to superconscious, I tell my clients, your superconscious is your expression of your divinity. It knows all. And that's what the divine knows all, full of compassion and kindness. So I label my course the self-love path. And I have everything in it. Everything I talked about, everything I alluded to. So in the course, we work together, self-reflecting. Oh, and this is the other part, the end. It's about a small group walking this path together. So finally, you come to stepping out of the smallness that you were unconsciously creating for yourself so you could survive. And so more and more, you can move through the layers to feel more and more well-being and wholeness so that you can move to your undefended heart. And you can connect to your original wisdom, the original peace and joy. And I haven't talked much about intuition, imagination, and inspiration. Imagination I have. Inspiration I alluded to. I love wisdom quotes because the words touch upon the wisdom I already have. Do you get it? You need to find the wisdom in you that is written about by wisdom teachers. It's not anything you don't know. It's something you remember. And when you realize this, you realize you really are, you are connected to all knowledge. It's a matter of focusing, treasuring, being grateful for, and putting energy into that connection. And we can start this by the self-love path, where I work with a group of 5 to 7 individuals. I have right now a group of 3. And so I'm looking to gather more so we can meet weekly, homework assignments, talking about what we're learning about ourselves, hearing from others that open up ways of seeing that we haven't had before, supporting each other, and ending every week meeting with a group map session. So you bring your superconscious to bear on what you discovered. So it's a very full path to work in, and that is what I would love to speak to you with. So this is a self-reflection piece. Have you been in pain and struggles long enough? Do you want to continue there? Are you going it alone now, being self-reliant, and have not trusted authentic connection with others so you can break the self-reliance. Big question, are you worth investing in? Because if you invest in yourself in the ways that I'm suggesting, you challenge your deep core belief of not being good enough. It's the first step that you can take to say, I want to feel good enough. I want to sit in feeling myself worthy and deserving. Do you hear your intuition directing you, trying to get your attention? You can meet with me if any of these questions touched you, your curiosity, and you can meet with me in unlocking your unique spirit. It's a breakthrough session, so we can talk together about what your situation is, answer your questions, and just have a good time making that connection. That's the way to book a call with me. And Anna's going to put this in the chat. Now, the reason I think you should meet with me and not with the MAP Coaching Institute is because you'll come upon so many choices. If you look for a MAP practitioner, so many choices. There are now 310 of us in the world. And there are programs. People have come to me from the MAP program that you can buy into because it wasn't enough. And it isn't. It's just to give you a taste and some help. You really need a full commitment, which I'd like to discuss with you. Hey, so final words. I think that's it for my presentation. I thank you for the opportunity for me to present what I did today. Whether you're here in person or you choose to listen to this recording, I feel so privileged by all the forces that allowed Anna and me to come together, for us to do our presentations together, the support we give each other, and the support you give me by showing up, whether in person or later. So I began with gratitude, and end with gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
Oh, thank you, Anna, Leo, Christy, and Doug. Bye for now.